Brad Nessler here in the Honda Insider Report on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you doing, Brad?
Hey, Rich, I'm doing better than your Wolverines did last night, even though they won.
I know.
It was like a rock fight, man. It was ugly.
It was. It was. What do you think it was? Was it the late start? Was it the rust of a Big Ten bye week, essentially, because the tournament was held in the Garden the week before? What do you think it was, Brad?
I think it might have been that a little bit. They just looked rusty. You know, Wagner just never got in the flow of the game. Duncan Robinson, same thing. They had a little trouble with Montana's speed at the guards. Those two dudes were really quick, especially in the first half. They settled in and played better defense against those two guys in the second half. But they were never in the flow of it, and they didn't look anything like they did when they ran through the Big Ten tournament. So. Like John said after the game, and we said while we were doing the broadcast, get that one out of your system, just spit it out, burn the film. Don't even go back and say, here's what we did, here's what we didn't do. Just look ahead to Houston, because if they play like they did against Montana, against Houston, they're going to get their doors blown off, to be honest with you. But they'll be better. I mean, I know they'll be better, and because they can't play any worse. If you ask me, I have no offense to you, but
no, Brad. Look, it is what it was. It was ugly. I mean, Michigan hardly turns the ball over. They turned it over almost as much on average for a game as they did in the first half. But the whole thing just was, again, it started at 10:30 at night. The clock even malfunctioned. It was just weird. It was kind of weird from top to finish.
We had about an 11-minute delay, I'm guessing. That it seemed like a half an hour, because not only did the clocks stop and the clocks went out, but the scores table went out. So the monitors over there at the scores table didn't work either. So the officials had to come over. And basically, I did play-by-play for about 11 minutes with the three officials. And luckily, I knew all three of those guys. I'm like, okay, Donnie, do this. And then Darren, do this. And whatever. We're trying to turn our monitors around so they could figure out, when the shot clock stopped at 15 seconds and Simpson's out there dribbling. It was horrible. I mean, talk about a screeching halt to a game that wasn't that good to start with. So, yeah, it was a little bit of everything you don't want in a game like that, especially when you're almost the last game of the night.
That said, I think any game would have paled in comparison to the way Houston and San Diego State finished. That was just exhilarating, just trading threes. And then Rob Gray, what a performance out of him. Tell me a little bit more about this kid that we're going to see on display and in the round of 32.
What's the amazing thing is he's only been at Houston for 3 years. He played his freshman year in junior college, and he's got almost 1,700 points in 3 years. He's that good, and great elevation. His jump shot, I mean, he's got great vertical and shoots at the top of his jump. He's one of those guys that's hard to defend, because even though he's only 6'1", he shoots like he's 6'6" or something like that with his jump shot, because he goes straight up. He was unbelievable last night, and career high with 39. He's had 6 games this year of 30-plus, and, I mean, he did everything. He just carried the whole team, and I don't know if he can play like that again, but it was great at the end of the game, because, kids from Forest City, North Carolina, and he said, I grew up watching the Tar Heels always being in the Final Four in the NCAA and all that kind of stuff, and here he is at Houston, and he was very cool about saying, I did it for our fans, I did it for the city of Houston. So, I mean, He said everything right. He's done everything right. He tore it up last night. I don't know, who's going to guard him. I guess Xavier Simpson probably gets the nod to try to guard him, but they couldn't guard him last night. That's for sure. He was unbelievable, and I think the last time anybody scored that many for Houston in an NCAA game was Big E, so that's good company.
Yeah, it's been a long time, right? I mean, it really has been a long, and it's interesting you point that out with the Astros winning the World Series, and we all know J.J. Watt, what he did for the city, and what the Rockets are going what they're doing right now, and Houston then wins its first NCAA tournament game since 1984. It really is. It's a neat story, Brad. It really is.
I couldn't believe that their last tourney win was 84, and they beat Virginia in overtime in that game, and it was Othell Wilson and all those guys for Virginia, and then they lost to Georgetown in the title game. But it seems like somewhere along the line they would have won another game in the NCAA tournament until last night. So long dry spell, and it's a great reclamation project too, Rich, for Calvin Sampson. Calvin and I have been friends for a long time, and go back 4 different schools, probably especially with Oklahoma that he took to the tournament 11 times. But the troubles he had with Indiana, and I guess some of the violations they had there would be minuscule compared to what we hear about now. There's all phone calls or text messages, whatever. But for him to kind of redo his career and revive the Houston basketball program at the same time, it's just a cool story. I'm happy for him. I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him.
Brad Nessler of CBS Sports here on the Rich Eisen Show for, I would say, what would you say, about 14, 15 minutes on the clock. Your first game looked like we were about to see Cinderella, like holy Pete Carrill bat, man. We were seeing Kansas being taken point for point by Penn. What happened in that game that finally turned the tide for Kansas?
I think Penn, is better than a 16 seed. I think they sort of proved that. Just the way they play kind of messes with people's minds, I think, a little bit. I don't think. Kansas is the number one seed here, but Bill would probably tell you, I don't know if we're a number one seed. He likes being a number one seed, and it's nice that they're in Kansas and they're 160 miles away from Lawrence and all that kind of stuff. But this is not a normal Kansas team. You take away Devontae Graham, and I think they're just kind of a team, to be honest with you, especially with Azubuike, out. They don't have an inside presence at all. Mitch Lightfoot's in there. Played a few minutes last year, and he's starting, down in the post. So they don't have a lottery pick. I mean, Devontae Graham's an awesome player. He really is. I mean, he's the second best performer yesterday, other than Rob Gray in this event. And he's super and a great kid and a finalist for Player of the Year and all that kind of stuff. But they don't have any depth. They don't have any size. But they find a way to, win 14 straight Big 12 titles. So. They got a Hall of Fame coach and a really good point guard. That's why they're in it. But they could be in trouble against Seton Hall.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Brad. Seton Hall, which handled NC State. How can Seton Hall, turn Kansas's nightmare machine back on again in this tournament?
I think just because they got seniors all over the place. Carrington really played well at the point yesterday afternoon. Ended up with I think 26 or something like that. Rodriguez has been kind of coming back from the ankle injury when he slipped in that game against Providence when they had the wet floor and all that kind of stuff. But, just senior leadership. Those guys have been there, done that. They've been in the tournament 3 straight years, but had never won a game. Now they got a taste of it, yesterday. And they got a good coach. And when you get that many seniors, I think that just helps the cause. And we know that, that. And it pays off. You can have all the superstars in the world that are ones and dones or whatever, but when you got 3 or 4 seniors playing together, they've been there 4 years, they know what to do.
Brad Nessler in the Honda Insider Report calling in from Wichita, Kansas. Again, he's going to be calling Kansas, Seton Hall, and Michigan, Houston on Saturday. Who's the best team, do you think, in this tournament then? The one that you've seen during the year?
In this region?
No, just in what do you think? I mean, just overall. Let's take you out of Wichita for a second, Brad. I know.
Okay. Well, does that mean my Arizona's out the window?
I guess. I mean, how about that? I've got I've got the Buffalo Bulls coach Nate Oates calling in hour 3 because I love these stories, man. I know.
I heard the promo and I heard who you had on, Baker Mayfield, Buffalo's coach, and me. Man, I'm in some good company. You got some awesome guys.
I try my best.
I don't know now because I sort of filled out a bracket and I thought I'm just going to do it for myself. I usually do it with my high school buddies or the people I hang out with in the dives in Atlanta. But I said, I'm not going to do it this year because I don't want it to influence me in case, I pick somebody in my region, that kind of thing. And so I just did it for myself yesterday, and I got it in front of me, and I'm done. I'm done because I had Arizona. So forget about it. My gosh. I had them earlier in the year, and I thought, they're really good, and Aiton's like, the number 1 draft pick and all that kind of stuff. And the stuff, the things they went through. And I thought, well, they're just going to come back and prove to everybody that they're really, really good. And then the Buffalo team said, nope, not so much. Not only getting beat, but getting creamed.
I mean, yeah, it was one of those things, too. It wasn't, like how Loyola Chicago won, right? And it wasn't a last-second one or even like the ending of Houston and San Diego State where the ball was in the air and the game was on the line. I mean,
by the way, I screwed that up in case you watched it because I said for the tie, I thought he was inside the 3-point line. So that's
Brad. I heard that, but so walk me through it as a broadcaster. How it's a day after you're even bringing that up, just in case people had heard that. I mean, you carry that one with you, right?
Yeah, there was 1.1, so it's as I said, catch and release like you're going fishing. And we have so many people at that front table, and I'm not trying to, but the ref was right in my view, and all I wanted to see is if the guy could even catch it. It was a great throw by Mitchell to get it to Kell, and then I thought Kell was inside the 3-point line. So, I said to tie, and it should have been to win. Had he hit it, I really would have felt bad. But whatever. You always want one back,
Hey, Brad,
I had one of those. I had one of those with Warwick Dunn against Virginia and Florida State, and I had Warwick Dunn scoring for Florida State against Virginia when they had never lost an ACC football game. And Warwick and I get together, and he said, had we had replay, he was still in. So I called touchdown. It wasn't. So, you want to get a couple of those back once in a while. You know what I'm saying?
I do, Brad. Hey, look, you're as good as they come, and like I said, and when you're watching your alma mater struggle to score points. And then you're watching your alma mater finally take the lead, and then you're listening to somebody call 11 minutes of play-by-play of people doing wiring. You're really good at that, Brad. You're fantastic. That's great.
I appreciate it. Somebody said to me yesterday, I got a text and said, we thought you were good, but we didn't know that you could do electrical wiring for 11 minutes and call play-by-play.
Hey, man, you are great. When you're talking about plugging in that HDMI, I mean, that was fantastic. Right? That was great. That's great.
Some of my best work, Rich.
You're the best, Brad. Thanks for calling in. Have a great Saturday at the mic.
All right, brother. See you.
You got it. It's Brad Nessler, then the Honda Insider Report.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.